Connected souls, finding and keeping real love. The search for something real. Love. It's the single most desired, spoken of, and sung about human experience. From childhood, we're conditioned to long for it, seek it out, and treasure it when we find it. But real, love deep, enduring, soul-level connection isn't something that just falls into our laps. It's not the dramatic whirlwind we often see in movies, nor the fleeting spark that fizzles out when faced with life's realities. Real love is quiet in its power, steady in its rhythm, and strong in its presence. For many, the journey begins with a sense of yearning, a hunger for something more than superficial dating or temporary attraction. There's a voice deep within that says, there has to be more. And that voice grows louder with every unfulfilled connection, every goodbye that leaves us empty, and every moment where we feel unseen or misunderstood. That yearning is not a weakness, it's a signal, a message from your soul that you are meant for something deeper. The modern world often seems built to distract us from real love. We swipe left and right, we ghost and get ghosted, and we chase connection with people who may not even be emotionally available. Social media has made it easier than ever to find attention, yet harder than ever to feel truly seen. We scroll through highlight reels, compare our relationships to filtered perfection, and begin to doubt whether something genuine even exists anymore. But amidst all that noise, real love still lives. It's not gone, it's just hidden beneath the surface, waiting for us to slow down, pay attention, and make space for it to flourish. To find real love, we first have to believe it exists. That belief is more than romantic optimism. It is a choice to hold on to the idea that vulnerability, trust, and devotion still matter. That someone out there longs for connection just as deeply as we do. That hearts can still align when we are brave enough to show up fully, without masks, without games, without fear. And so, the search for real love becomes a sacred journey, not just to find another person, but to find ourselves along the way. Because real love doesn't complete us, it reflects the completeness we've already discovered within. That's why the most important step in finding love is not actually looking outward, it's looking inward. Before we can truly connect with someone else, we must reconnect with our own hearts. We must understand our needs, heal our wounds, and let go of the false beliefs that have shaped our past relationships. Every breakup, every disappointment, every betrayal has left its mark. But those marks are not scars meant to be hidden. They are lessons meant to be learned. What we attract is often a mirror of what we believe we deserve. And if we carry the belief that love equals pain, or that we are unworthy of affection, or that people always leave, then we may unconsciously choose relationships that prove those beliefs right. But we can change that story. We can rewrite the script. We can decide that we are worthy of real love, and we can start aligning our lives with that truth. It's not easy. It takes courage to be honest about our patterns, to admit where we've settled, where we've stayed too long, or where we've run too soon. But in that honesty is power. In that, self-awareness is freedom. When we take responsibility for our part in past dynamics, we take back our ability to shape future ones. We stop blaming the world or bad luck, and instead start seeing how we can grow, heal, and evolve into the kind of person who both attracts and sustains deep connection. There is a difference between attraction and alignment. We may feel a spark with many people, but that spark means little if it's not grounded in shared values, emotional maturity, and mutual respect. Real love is not just chemistry, it is compatibility. It is two people walking the same path, with the same level of commitment, emotional availability, and willingness to grow. That kind of alignment doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it feels more like peace, like exhaling, like coming home. But to experience that, we must learn to distinguish between what excites our ego and what nourishes our soul. The ego may chase validation, status, or fantasy, while the soul longs for truth, depth, and intimacy. The heart always knows the difference, it's just that sometimes we forget to listen. Part of the search for real love also involves learning to sit with loneliness without trying to numb it or escape it. Loneliness is not a sign of failure. It is a space where healing can happen. When we can be alone and still feel whole, we no longer seek someone to fill our emptiness. We seek someone to share our fullness. That is a game changer. Because now, we are not looking for a savior or a fixer. We are looking for a partner, someone to walk beside us, not carry us. Someone whose love feels like a safe space, not a roller coaster. Someone whose presence makes life richer, not more complicated. To find that person, we also have to be that person. We must become emotionally available, authentic, and open-hearted. We must learn to communicate clearly, express needs without shame, and hold space for others to do the same. We must shed the armor that may have once protected us but now only isolates us. We must let go of perfectionism, comparison, and control, and embrace the messiness of real connection. Love is not always convenient. It will challenge us, stretch us, and trigger our deepest fears, but it will also invite us into our highest growth. It will teach us to forgive, to trust, and to show up even when it's hard. That is the beauty of love, that it's perfect, but that it's transformational. So, if you're searching for something real, don't be discouraged by the noise or the setbacks. Stay true to your desire. Stay open. Stay hopeful. Because the kind of love you're looking for is also looking for you. And the more you align with your truth, the more visible you become to the kind of soul that recognizes your light. You don't have to settle for crumbs when you were born to experience a feast. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not just to be loved. Real love sees you, chooses you, and honors you exactly as you are. And it is out there, waiting for you to believe it's possible. Knowing yourself first. Before we can love another person deeply, we must begin by truly knowing and loving ourselves. It's a phrase we've heard so many times that it can start to sound like a cliché, yet it is perhaps the most overlooked and under-practiced truth in the world of relationships. So many people dive into love hoping that it will be the cure to their loneliness, the balm for their insecurities, or the missing puzzle piece they believe they lack. But when we enter love half knowing who we are, we often end up clinging, projecting, or losing ourselves in the process. We must understand that who we are sets the tone for the kind of love we attract and maintain. Knowing yourself is not about having all the answers or being flawless. It's about cultivating a deep, intimate understanding of your own thoughts, needs, patterns, and values. It's about recognizing the inner landscape that shapes how you show up in relationships. The truth is, every relationship we experience is a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. If we are disconnected from our emotions, we'll struggle to be emotionally available. If we are unclear about our needs, we'll have difficulty asking for what we want. If we don't feel worthy of love, we'll settle for less than we deserve, or constantly doubt the love we do receive. That's why inner work is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It is the foundation upon which healthy, lasting love is built. Knowing yourself begins with becoming aware of your emotional triggers. What makes you feel unsafe, rejected, or overwhelmed? What situations tend to bring out your defenses or cause you to shut down? Instead of judging yourself for these reactions, you must learn to get curious about them. Your triggers are often rooted in past wound-soiled experiences that taught you certain false truths about love and connection. Maybe you learned that expressing emotion leads to abandonment, or that being vulnerable makes you weak. Maybe you were taught to put others' needs before your own to earn love. These messages, often learned in childhood or past relationships, quietly shape how we behave and what we believe. When we don't take time to examine and reprogram these beliefs, we carry them like invisible scripts into every new relationship. So we sabotage, we test, we retreat, or we overcompensate, often without even realizing it. But when we do the inner work, we start to rewrite those scripts. We begin to tell ourselves new truths like, I am worthy of being heard. I can ask for what I need. I am lovable even in my imperfection. And I don't have to shrink to be chosen. These affirmations aren't just feel-good phrases. They are acts of reclaiming your power. A big part of knowing yourself is understanding your core values. Values are the principles that guide your life and decisions. They are your compass, your internal truth. If you don't know your values, you'll likely prioritize attraction or surface compatibility in relationships, only to realize later that something essential is missing. You might be drawn to someone's charisma or charm, but without shared values like honesty, kindness, or growth, that attraction may not translate into a stable, fulfilling relationship. Get clear on what matters most to you. Is it emotional honesty, spiritual growth, family, independence, creativity? These values help you make better choices, not just about who you let into your life, but also about how you show up in love. When you know your values, you're less likely to compromise your authenticity just to be accepted. You can stand in your truth and attract someone who honors it, rather than trying to mold yourself to fit someone else's version of love. Self-awareness also means recognizing your patterns in relationships. Do you tend to fall for emotionally unavailable people? Do you lose yourself in your partner's needs and forget your own? Do you fear intimacy and push people away when things get too close? These patterns are not signs of failure, they are clues. They reveal what still needs healing, what fears are running the show, and what beliefs you may be holding on to. When you see your patterns clearly, you gain the power to choose differently. You stop repeating the same story with different people, and you begin writing a new narrative, one that honors your growth, your needs, and your evolution. Emotional self-regulation is another critical skill on the path to knowing yourself. Love will trigger you. It will bring up your insecurities, your old fears, your wounds. That's not a flaw, it's an invitation to heal. But if you're not aware of your emotional landscape, you may react from a place of pain rather than respond from a place of consciousness. Learning how to sit with discomfort, how to soothe your nervous system, and how to communicate emotions without blame is a superpower in relationships. It creates safety not just for you, but for your partner. Emotional maturity doesn't mean you never get upset. It means you know how to process those emotions in a way that brings you closer, not further apart. Part of self-knowledge is also understanding your attachment style. Are you anxious, avoidant, secure, or a mix? This framework offers powerful insights into how you connect and what you need to feel safe. Anxious types may crave closeness but fear abandonment. Avoidant types may value independence but struggle with vulnerability. Knowing your style and the style of your partner can help you navigate differences with compassion instead of confusion. It also allows you to make more conscious choices. For example, if you know you have anxious tendencies, you can work on creating internal security rather than relying solely on external reassurance. If you're avoidant, you can practice leaning into discomfort and expressing needs rather than retreating when things get hard. This awareness doesn't mean you're broken, it means you're human. And the more compassion you bring to your own humanity, the more you can extend that compassion to others. Loving yourself isn't just about bubble baths and affirmations. It's about boundaries. It's about saying no when something doesn't align with your truth, even if it's uncomfortable. It's about walking away from what drains your soul, even if it looks good on paper. It's about choosing long-term peace over short-term validation. That level of self-love is radical. It's the kind that changes your entire relationship dynamic, because now, you're no longer waiting to be chosen, you're doing the choosing. You are no longer chasing love, you are embodying it. And from that place, you attract a very different kind of connection rooted in mutual respect, emotional safety, and aligned values. Knowing yourself also involves listening to your body. Our bodies carry so much wisdom, yet we're often taught to override or ignore them. But your gut, your heart, your tension, your energy, these are all signals. Your body knows when something is off, even when your mind tries to rationalize or minimize it. Pay attention to the tightness in your chest, the unease in your stomach, the restlessness in your spirit. These are signs that something needs to be addressed, healed, or shifted. Tuning into your body helps you set better boundaries, express emotions authentically, and recognize when a relationship feels safer, when it doesn't. The more attuned you are to your own signals, the less likely you are to ignore red flags or betray your own needs in the name of love. Finally, knowing yourself means being honest about your capacity. Love doesn't always come when everything is perfectly aligned. Sometimes it finds us in the midst of healing, growth, and transition. And that's okay. But we must be willing to ask, am I truly ready to love and be loved? Am I willing to be seen, to be vulnerable, to hold space for another's humanity as I hold space for my own? There's no shame in taking time to prepare your heart. There's no shame in saying, I am still becoming. In fact, that kind of honesty is a gift to yourself and to any future partner. Because the more you know yourself, the more clearly you can see others. The more deeply you love yourself, the more richly you can love someone else. So take the time. Explore your inner world. Get to know the quiet voice inside you. Let go of what no longer serves. Celebrate your growth. Honor your truth. Because real love doesn't begin when you meet someone else, it begins the moment you decide to meet yourself. Attracting the love you deserve. Attracting the love you deserve begins with a powerful inner decision, the decision to believe you are worthy of it. This is where everything shifts. Not when someone finally loves you right, not when you've perfected your appearance or eliminated every flaw, but when you declare to yourself that your heart, just as it is, deserves to be met with respect, devotion, honesty, and care. That declaration becomes an energetic boundary. It becomes the filter through which you begin to choose, relate, and engage with others. And it's where the journey of attracting real, healthy, soul-deep love truly starts. We must understand that we do not attract what we want. We attract who we are and what we believe we are worthy of receiving. So if your self-worth is low, your boundaries blurry, your needs buried beneath fear of rejection, then even if love knocks at your door, you may not recognize it, accept it, or sustain it. You'll unconsciously gravitate toward familiar dysfunction or repeat old dynamics because they match the internal template you haven't yet rewritten. But once you begin to shift your inner world, clearing the clutter of old wounds, limiting beliefs, and past disappointments, you open up a new space. And in that space, you begin to vibrate on the frequency of the love you actually long for. It's important to begin with clarity. Ask yourself, what kind of love do I truly want to experience? Go beyond the superficial list of traits. Instead of just tall, successful, funny, ask, do I want someone emotionally intelligent, spiritually aligned, supportive of my dreams? Do I value deep communication, shared growth, honesty, playfulness, partnership? When we don't get clear on this, we often settle for chemistry without compatibility, attraction without alignment. But when you know what your heart really craves, you begin to filter your choices differently. You begin to ask different questions, notice different red or green flags, and invest your time and energy more intentionally. Clarity is power. It tells the universe and yourself that you're no longer interested in repeating the same old patterns. You're ready for something real. But attracting the love you deserve also requires action. Not desperate chasing or controlling, but intentional alignment. It means you live in a way that reflects the love you're calling in. If you want honest love, you practice honesty with yourself. If you want deep intimacy, you allow yourself to be seen. If you want stability, you cultivate emotional grounding in your own life. This is how the inner and outer worlds meet. You become the kind of person who matches the kind of relationship you desire. You heal the parts of you that once clung or ran. You nurture your own joy, your own peace, your own sense of safety. Then, when someone enters your life, they're not stepping into a void, they're joining you in the overflow of your wholeness. Another important aspect of attraction is your energy. People feel your energy long before they hear your words. If you carry unresolved bitterness, cynicism, or neediness, that energy speaks louder than your smile. But if you radiate self-respect, openness, and joy, you become magnetic, not in a manipulative way, but in a deeply natural, soul-led way. The best relationships often begin with energy that says, I am at home in myself. I know who I am. I am not looking to be saved or fixed. I am open to sharing love, not surviving on it. That kind of energy is radiant, irresistible. We must also talk about boundaries, because attracting love isn't just about calling in the right person. It's also about keeping the wrong ones out. Boundaries are not walls to keep people away, they are bridges that show others how to love you well. Without them, we end up drained, disrespected, or resentful. But when we are clear on our standards, our deal breakers, our yes and no, we create a container for healthy love to flourish. This doesn't mean perfection, it means consistency. If someone shows you a lack of respect early on, don't ignore it. If someone repeatedly crosses your emotional boundaries, don't excuse it. The way someone shows up when they're getting to know you will tell you a lot about how they'll show up when things get deeper. Attracting the love you deserve means loving yourself enough to walk away from what doesn't align, even when it's tempting to stay. And then there's patience, perhaps the hardest part of all. In a world that moves fast and values instant gratification, waiting for meaningful connection can feel excruciating. You might wonder if it's ever going to happen, if you're being too picky, if something's wrong with you. But here's the truth. Quality takes time, and your timing isn't off, it's being calibrated. Every season of waiting is a season of preparation. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. During this time, the work you do to align with your truth, heal your wounds, and raise your standards is not wasted. It's sacred. It's what ensures that when love does arrive, you'll be ready not just to receive it, but to nurture and sustain it. Patience is not passivity. It is the fierce choice to trust that what's meant for you is not being delayed, it's being developed. It's also essential to reframe the role of past relationships. Many people carry shame or regret for what they allowed or missed. But those experiences were not failures. They were teachers. They revealed what you value, what you need, what you no longer want to tolerate. They showed you where you still needed to heal. And now, with that wisdom, you are not starting from scratch, you are starting from experience. Don't let the past make you bitter. Let it make you wiser, clearer, stronger. Let it refine your standards and deepen your capacity to love. You didn't lose, you learned. In the realm of attraction, it's also important to remain open. Sometimes we get so fixed on a certain type, a certain path, or a certain outcome that we miss the love that's already trying to find us. Stay open to being surprised. Stay open to connections that unfold slowly rather than explosively. Sometimes, the most soul-aligned love comes quietly, gently, patiently, without fireworks, but with an unshakable peace. The right person might not match your checklist, but they'll match your soul. They'll bring calm, not chaos. They'll feel like coming home. And finally, remember that love is not a destination, it's a way of being. When you live from love, give from love, speak from love, you naturally become a vessel for love to find its way to you. You attract not through striving, but through alignment. You don't need to chase or convince or perform. You simply become the fullest expression of yourself and trust that those who are meant to love you in that fullness will. You trust that your love is a gift, not a burden. You trust that you don't have to shrink to be accepted. You trust that you are worthy not someday, but now. You are worthy of a love that sees you, a love that holds space for your light and your shadows, a love that grows with you, not against you, a love that doesn't require you to abandon yourself in order to belong. This kind of love isn't rare, it's just rarely chosen. But you can choose it. You can choose to stop settling. You can choose to believe, to prepare, to stay open, to walk in alignment with the very love you seek. Because love is not out there waiting to fix you. It is within you, waiting to be embodied, expressed, and shared. And when you anchor into that truth, you stop searching desperately, you start attracting naturally. Building emotional safety. Real love doesn't thrive on grand romantic gestures or passionate highs. Alone flourishes in the subtle, consistent presence of emotional safety. Emotional safety is the invisible glue that holds relationships together through the seasons of life. It's what allows vulnerability to grow roots. It's what makes trust feel natural. It's what makes two souls relax in each other's presence and slowly unfold. Without emotional safety, no amount of chemistry, compatibility, or physical attraction can sustain a connection long term. We might stay in relationships for other reasons, comfort, fear, habit, but we won't feel deeply connected, known, or loved unless emotional safety is part of the foundation. So if we are serious about finding and keeping real love, we must understand what emotional safety looks like, how to create it, and why it matters more than we've been taught to believe. Emotional safety begins with presence, the ability to be here, fully and sincerely, with another human being, especially when things get uncomfortable. Presence is not just physical, it's emotional. It's about listening to understand, not just to respond. It's about noticing when your partner is off and choosing to lean in instead of pulling away. It's about staying grounded in moments of conflict and choosing curiosity over defensiveness. Presence says, I am here. I am not going anywhere. I want to know you, even when it's hard. And that kind of presence softens even the most guarded hearts. It becomes a sanctuary where the soul feels safe enough to reveal its truth. To build emotional safety, both people must feel like they can show up as they are, without fear of being judged, shamed, or punished. This doesn't mean anything ghosts, it means there is space for honesty, even when that honesty is messy or uncomfortable. When your partner tells you something vulnerable, how you respond shapes whether they'll trust you with more. If you dismiss, invalidate, or mock their emotions, they will retreat. If you meet them with empathy, patience, and care, they will come closer. The safety deepens. This is why emotional safety isn't built in grand declaration sites, built in small moments of grace. It's in how we talk to each other when we're tired. It's in whether we feel safe enough to say, I'm scared, or I'm hurting, without fearing that our feelings will be used against us. Many people enter relationships with old emotional wounds, abandonment, betrayal, rejection, and they carry these wounds like invisible armor. They may not even realize they're guarded until they try to get close to someone and suddenly feel afraid, reactive, or numb. To build emotional safety, we must first be willing to see these wounds in ourselves and in our partners. Instead of labeling them as needy, cold, or too sensitive, we begin to ask deeper questions. What is this reaction protecting? What fear lives underneath this silence? What past pain is being triggered by this moment? When we approach each other with this kind of compassionate awareness, we stop personalizing each other's triggers and start holding space for each other's healing. Emotional safety grows when both people feel like their inner worlds are being seen and held with tenderness. But creating emotional safety also means having boundaries. It's not just about softness, it's about structure. Boundaries are how we protect the emotional climate of the relationship. They define what's okay and what's not okay. Without boundaries, emotional safety erodes. Trust breaks down. One person may dominate while the other shrinks. Or both people may walk on eggshells, afraid of setting each other off. But when boundaries are clear and respected, a sense of trust begins to take root. It becomes okay to say no. It becomes safe to ask for space. It becomes understood that emotions can be expressed without anyone having to sacrifice their dignity. Boundaries allow love to flow without fear of being overwhelmed or erased. Communication is a core pillar of emotional safety. And not just communication, but honest, kind, consistent communication. That means not punishing your partner with silence, not expecting them to read your mind, not expressing your needs only through anger or withdrawal, but instead speaking up clearly, calmly, and respectfully. Saying what you feel, what you need, what matters to you, and also listening. Truly listening, not to defend, but to understand. Emotional safety is built when two people learn how to disagree without disconnecting, when conflict becomes an opportunity to grow closer, not drift apart, when both people know that they can be honest and still be loved. This kind of communication takes practice, but it's one of the most powerful gifts you can give to a relationship. Another essential component is reliability. Trust is formed when words match actions. When someone says, "I'll be there," and they show up. When promises are kept and patterns are consistent. When your emotional world is not constantly being destabilized by mixed signals or broken commitments, emotional safety is deeply tied to predictability in the best sense of the word. It doesn't mean boring, it means stable. It means you know where you stand. It means you're not bracing for the next emotional roller coaster. In safe relationships, you don't have to constantly question whether you're loved or wanted. That steadiness creates room for deeper intimacy, because when you're not preoccupied with survival, you have the energy to truly connect. Vulnerability is both the result and the builder of emotional safety. In a safe relationship, you can cry without shame. You can share your dreams without fear of being mocked. You can admit when you're wrong without being humiliated. You can talk about your past, your insecurities, your hopes, and your fears, and be met with kindness. Vulnerability becomes an invitation, not a risk. And every time you take that risk and it is honored, the bond deepens. The trust grows stronger. The love becomes more real. Because love is not just about celebrating each other's light, it's about being present with each other's darkness. To build emotional safety, we must also learn how to repair after rupture. Every relationship will have moments of misunderstanding, hurt, and conflict. What matters is not whether rupture happens, but how it is handled. Do you avoid each other for days or come back together quickly to talk it through? Do you apologize sincerely or deflect blame? Do you take responsibility or hold on to pride? Repair is where emotional safety is tested and strengthened. It's where both people say, "Our connection matters more than our egos. I want to understand you. I want to make this right." Without repair, wounds fester. With repair, even pain becomes part of the love story, not as a scar, but as a sacred thread of resilience. Creating emotional safety is not just about what you do with your partner, it's also about what you do with yourself. You cannot create external safety if your inner world is in chaos. You must first become a safe space for your own emotions. That means not shaming yourself for how you feel, not silencing your intuition to keep the peace, not abandoning your truth to avoid rejection. When you learn to hold your own heart with compassion, you naturally begin to hold others that way too. And when two people come together, both committed to being safe havens for themselves and each other, the relationship becomes a healing space, a sacred space, a space where love doesn't just survive, it thrives. Emotional safety isn't built overnight. It's the result of thousands of small choices. Choosing to listen when you'd rather win the argument. Choosing to be honest when you'd rather pretend. Choosing to stay when it's easier to run. Choosing to love even when fear whispers, "Protect yourself." These choices add up. They create a sense of home, not just in a place, but in a person. And when you find that kind of emotional home, you realize that love isn't just a feeling, it's a practice of being present, a practice of being kind, a practice of being real. You deserve that kind of love, not just the love that thrills your heart, but the one that steadies your soul, the love where you can exhale, where your tears are welcome, where your silence is understood, where your truth is held, not judged. That kind of love is rare, not because it doesn't exist, but because it takes courage. Courage to be seen, courage to stay, courage to build, moment by moment, the safety that real love needs to grow. But when you do, the reward is extraordinary. You don't just find love, you find freedom within it. You find the kind of connection that doesn't trap you or change you, but allows you to become even more of who you are. And that is the heart of emotional safety. It's not just protection from harm, it's permission to bloom, to become, to expand, in the presence of someone who sees you, hears you, and loves you still. That is the love you are worthy of. That is the love you can create. That is the love that lasts. Trust as the foundation. Trust is not just a concept we throw around in relationships. It is the very ground we stand on when we let someone into our inner world. Without trust, even the most passionate love can deteriorate into suspicion, anxiety, and isolation. Trust is what allows us to sleep peacefully next to someone, to share our fears and dreams, to feel safe when we are most vulnerable. It's what transforms two individuals into partners, collaborators in the lifelong journey of love. Many people think trust is either there or it's not, but the truth is more complex. Trust is built over time through consistent actions, open communication, and mutual respect. It is an ongoing practice, something you cultivate daily, not a one-time vow or assumption. You don't just trust your partner because you said, "I do," or because you've been together for years. You trust them because of how they show up for you, how they treat your heart, and how they stand beside you in the moments that matter. And in the same way, you earn their trust by being dependable, honest, and emotionally available. One of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing trust with perfection. No one is perfect, and expecting your partner to never make mistakes is setting up the relationship for disappointment. Trust isn't about expecting flawlessness. It's about believing that your partner has good intentions, that they care about your well-being, and that they will make things right when they fall short. It's about knowing that they will listen when you need to talk, that they will apologize when they've hurt you, and that they won't abandon you when times get tough. Trust is a dynamic exchange. It breathes, it evolves, and it can be rebuilt if damaged, though it takes time, effort, and a shared commitment. For many people, trust has been broken in the past, and the scars can linger into new relationships. If you've been betrayed before, it's natural to feel hesitant about opening up again. But healing doesn't mean forgetting or pretending it didn't hurt. It means choosing to grow stronger from the experience and deciding not to let the past dictate your future. Trusting again after pain is an act of courage and self-respect. It's not about being naive, it's about believing in your own worth and your ability to discern who is truly worthy of your heart. Communication is a vital part of building and sustaining trust. When you and your partner can talk honestly about your needs, fears, and boundaries, you create a safe space where both of you can thrive. This doesn't mean always agreeing or avoiding conflict. In fact, the ability to navigate disagreements with respect and compassion is a powerful indicator of trust. When you know that a disagreement won't turn into a personal attack or silent treatment, when you can voice your feelings without fear of being ridiculed or dismissed, you have a solid foundation of trust. It's in these difficult conversations where trust is either deepened or damaged. Choosing to stay present, to listen with empathy, and to respond with kindness builds the type of bond that stands the test of time. Another key aspect of trust is consistency. Small, repeated actions often matter more than grand gestures. Showing up when you say you will, remembering the little things that are important to your partner, respecting their boundaries, and being reliable in your words and deeds. All of these build a quiet but unshakable sense of security. It's in the everyday moments that trust is built. The morning coffee made without being asked, the hand held in silence during a rough day, the message that says, "I'm thinking of you." These simple acts whisper, "You can count on me." And over time, that whisper becomes the soundtrack of a secure and lasting love. Trust also requires vulnerability, not just from your partner, but from you. To trust is to risk, and risk always involves some level of fear. But emotional intimacy cannot exist without that openness. When you allow someone to see your insecurities, your dreams, your wounds, and your hopes, and they respond with understanding and care, a powerful trust is born. This kind of vulnerability is not weakness, it is strength. It says, "I am willing to be seen, even in my imperfection, because I believe you will treat my truth with gentleness." And when both partners meet each other in this space of mutual honesty, the relationship becomes a refuge. Of course, there are times when trust is broken. A lie, an affair, or repeated emotional neglect can shatter the very core of a relationship. Rebuilding trust after betrayal is one of the hardest things to do, but it is possible, depending on the situation and the willingness of both individuals. The person who broke the trust must take full responsibility, show genuine remorse, and demonstrate consistent change over time. Words are not enough, actions must align. And the person who was hurt must be willing to open the door to healing, which involves processing the pain, asking for what they need, and gradually allowing vulnerability again. This path is not linear. There will be setbacks, doubts, and difficult days. But when both partners are committed, trust can be reborn, often stronger than before. Forgiveness plays a huge role in this process, not just forgiving the other, but also forgiving yourself for the times you ignored red flags, tolerated less than you deserved, or lost sight of your own value. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was okay, it's saying, I'm choosing to let go of the pain so I can move forward, either with or without this relationship. It's also important to recognize that trust isn't just something that exists between you and another persona, it begins within yourself. Do you trust your own intuition, your choices, your boundaries? Do you believe in your own ability to handle life's challenges and protect your heart? Self-trust is the root of all healthy relationships. When you trust yourself, you're less likely to tolerate dishonesty or disrespect from others, and more likely to communicate your needs clearly and confidently. This inner trust helps you choose partners who align with your values and treat you with the care you deserve. It allows you to leave relationships that are toxic, even when it's painful, because you know your worth and you trust that something better is possible. In long-term love, trust is constantly being affirmed and reaffirmed through your interactions. It's the way you speak to each other during stress, the way you celebrate each other's wins without jealousy, the way you hold space for each other's growth. As life throws its inevitable curveballs, job changes, illness, family issues, personal struggles, trust is what helps you face them together, not apart. It's what allows you to say, no matter what happens, I've got you, and truly mean it. That kind of reassurance is priceless in a world that is constantly shifting. And in love, it is what turns ordinary moments into sacred ones. Ultimately, trust is not just about believing that your partner won't hurt you, it's about believing that they care deeply when they do, and that they are committed to making things right. It's about knowing that your heart is not alone in its tenderness, that you are not the only one fighting for the connection. In a world where many people wear emotional armor, choosing to trust is a radical act. It is a declaration that love is worth the risk, that connection is worth the courage, and that together, two souls can create something enduring, beautiful, and true. Keeping love alive through communication. Communication is not just the ability to speak or to hear, it is the sacred thread that connects two hearts in a dance of understanding, truth, and presence. In a romantic relationship, communication is the heartbeat at it, keeps love alive. It signals distress. It nourishes emotional intimacy, and it acts as a compass during conflict. Words carry meaning, but in love, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it, when you say it, and whether or not the words come from a place of genuine presence and openness. When couples drift apart, it is rarely overnight. More often, it begins subtly. A conversation left unfinished, a tone that felt dismissive, a need that went unexpressed. Over time, these small disconnects become emotional silences. But love doesn't vanish. Because the feelings disappear, it fades when the connection breaks down, and that connection lives or dies through communication. In the early stages of love, communication often flows effortlessly. There is curiosity, desire, attentiveness, and a natural hunger to know each other. Long, late-night conversations feel like oxygen. Every text, glance, and whisper carries excitement. But in lasting love, communication requires more intention. As routines settle in, as stress from work, family, and life accumulates, the effort to truly listen and speak with care becomes a choice. This is where many relationships falter, not because love isn't present, but because expression weakens and assumptions grow in its place. Effective communication in love is not just about solving problems, it is about building a bridge, moment by moment, that allows you to meet each other across the space of two different minds and hearts. It begins with listening, not the kind of passive listening that waits for its turn to speak, but the deep, active listening that tunes in with full presence. When your partner speaks, do you truly hear them? Do you set aside your need to be right or to fix things and simply witness their truth? Listening with empathy is one of the most loving acts you can offer. It says, "You matter. Your feelings are safe with me." And in that safety, hearts open, wounds begin to heal, and love grows roots. On the other side of listening is expression, your voice, your truth, your needs. So many people hesitate to express themselves in relationships out of fear of conflict, rejection, or being misunderstood. But unspoken emotions don't disappear, they ferment. They build resentment, create distance, and quietly erode trust. Speaking your truth with love and clarity is not selfish. It is essential. It creates a climate of honesty where both people can breathe. When you say, "This hurt me," or "I need more support," or "I feel disconnected," you invite your partner into your world. And when done with kindness, even the hardest truths can bring you closer instead of pushing you apart. A powerful tool in keeping love alive is learning to communicate not just during calm moments, but especially during conflict. Arguments are inevitable. Two people can spend a lifetime together without clashing at times. But what matters is not whether you argue, it's how you argue. Do you attack, blame, and shut down? Or do you stay open, use I statements, and seek to understand as much as to be understood? Fighting fair means staying on the issue at hand, avoiding insults or old grudges, and remaining committed to resolution rather than domination. It means recognizing when your emotions are too high to be constructive and taking space if needed, not as a punishment, but as a way to protect the relationship from unnecessary harm. Learning to navigate these moments with maturity and grace is one of the greatest gifts you can give your love. Another overlooked aspect of communication is nonverbal language. A touch, a look, a sigh, these often speak louder than words. Are you aware of how your body communicates? Do your gestures and tone match the words you speak? Saying, "I love you," while looking at your phone doesn't carry the same weight as saying it with eye contact and intention. Likewise, emotional withdrawal, sarcasm, or dismissive behavior communicates volumes, even if nothing is said aloud. Being mindful of your presence, your energy, and your nonverbal cues creates a deeper harmony in how you relate to your partner. In long-term relationships, it's essential to keep the spark of curiosity alive. Just because you've known someone for years doesn't mean you've discovered every part of them. People evolve. Their dreams shift. Their wounds resurface. Their perspectives mature. One of the most beautiful aspects of communication is continuing to ask, "Who are you now?" and sharing, "Here is who I am becoming." These ongoing dialogues keep love fresh and alive. Make time for regular check-ins, not just about logistics and tasks, but about emotions and dreams. Ask questions that go beyond the surface. What's been on your mind lately? What's something you've been afraid to say? How can I support you better right now? These moments of soulful connection build a depth that infatuation alone can never reach. Technology, while useful, has also altered how we communicate in relationships. Text messages and social media can create a false sense of connection, while actually deepening emotional distance. Make it a point to have device-free time together. Sit across from each other, look into each other's eyes, and speak from the heart. The world moves fast, but love requires slowness. It requires pauses, stillness, and full attention. Don't let screens replace the sacred ritual of real conversation. Also, remember that humor, playfulness, and affection are vital forms of communication. Shared laughter can diffuse tension, physical affection can convey safety and desire, and inside jokes can reinforce the unique bond between two people. Don't wait for big moments to express love. Say the kind things often, laugh together frequently, and touch each other with warmth. These everyday exchanges create an emotional climate where love not only survives but thrives. Finally, communication with yourself plays a significant role in how you relate to your partner. Are you honest with your own emotions? Do you take time to reflect before reacting? Self-awareness creates better communication because it allows you to express your feelings with clarity instead of projecting them in confusion. When you know your own triggers, wounds, and needs, you are less likely to lash out or shut down and more likely to engage with compassion. This emotional maturity creates a strong foundation for mutual understanding. In every stage of love, communication acts as the pulse that keeps the relationship alive. It is not something you master once and forget. It is a daily practice, a sacred dance of speaking, listening, and staying open. When both partners commit to communicating with presence, kindness, and vulnerability, they create not just a connection, but a partnership built on the deepest kind of intimacy, the kind that weathers storms, celebrates growth, and keeps love glowing long after the initial flame. Cultivating emotional intimacy in long-term relationships. When two people choose to share a life together, they begin a journey not just of shared experiences, routines, and goals, but of emotional depth. While the passion of early love often burns bright, it is emotional intimacy that sustains the flame through the seasons of time. Emotional intimacy is the quiet knowing that your partner sees you, hears you, understands you, and that you are safe in their presence, not just physically but emotionally and spiritually. It is not built overnight, nor is it a given just because you've spent years together. Instead, it must be nurtured with care, attention, and deliberate acts of connection. In long-term relationships, it is common for couples to feel close in practical ways, but distant emotionally. Life's busyness can cause a shift from being lovers and confidants to simply co-managers of daily responsibilities. The relationship becomes functional, managing bills, raising children, organizing schedules, but the emotional landscape remains untouched. And while the structure of the relationship may remain intact, the emotional bond begins to quietly fray. That is why cultivating emotional intimacy is not a luxury for when you have extra time. It is essential maintenance, the emotional oxygen of the relationship. Without it, even the most stable partnership begins to feel hollow. Emotional intimacy thrives when both partners feel psychologically safe. This means creating an atmosphere where vulnerability is not punished or dismissed, but met with empathy and acceptance. Imagine coming home after a hard day, unsure of how to even put your feelings into words, and knowing that you can simply say, "I'm overwhelmed," without fear of judgment or invalidation. That's what emotional intimacy provides, a refuge. It allows you to reveal the raw parts of yourself, the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, and still be held in love. But this kind of safety isn't automatic. It must be cultivated. It begins with the small moments, truly listening without interrupting, responding with kindness instead of critique, asking how your partner feels before jumping in with solutions. These daily acts of emotional generosity build a foundation where deeper sharing becomes possible, and once that trust is built, both people are more likely to reach for each other instead of pulling away. To build emotional intimacy, it's essential to prioritize quality time, not just time spent together physically, but emotionally attuned time. That means setting aside distractions, turning off phones, television, and other obligations, and being fully present with each other. A conversation over coffee, a walk in the evening, time spent lying in bed just talking about your day. These are the moments when hearts open. What matters isn't the setting, it's the intention. Are you showing up for your partner not just as a roommate or co-parent, but as a best friend and confidant? Are you creating space where your emotional worlds can be shared without agenda? Another key element of emotional intimacy is curiosity. In long-term relationships, it's easy to assume you know everything there is to know about your partner. But people are not static. They grow, evolve, and shift in subtle ways every day. Emotional intimacy deepens when you stay curious about your partner's inner life. Ask open-ended questions. What's been on your mind lately? Is there anything you're struggling with that you haven't shared? What's something you're dreaming about that I might not know? These kinds of questions invite exploration, revealing layers of your partner's inner world that might otherwise remain hidden. And when your partner senses your genuine interest, they feel cherished and seen. Vulnerability is the gateway to intimacy. Yet, in long-term relationships, many people struggle to remain vulnerable. Past hurts, disappointments, or fears of being misunderstood can cause emotional walls to rise. But true closeness requires a willingness to be open. It means saying, I miss you, even when you live in the same house. It means admitting, I'm scared, even when you're usually the strong one. It means revealing, I need more from you emotionally, even when it feels risky. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the strongest form of trust. And when both partners embrace it, the relationship becomes a sacred space where healing and growth are possible. One of the most profound ways to deepen emotional intimacy is through emotional validation. This means letting your partner know that their feelings make sense, even if you don't fully understand or agree with them. If your partner says they're feeling lonely, don't rush to defend yourself or fix it. Pause and say, I'm sorry you're feeling that way. Tell me more. This kind of response opens the door to deeper sharing, while defensiveness slams it shut. Emotional validation doesn't mean always agreeing. It means honoring your partner's reality as valid and worthy of respect. Over time, this creates a climate of emotional safety that encourages more openness. Physical affection also plays an important role in emotional closeness. Simple to chase a hand on the back, a hug, a gentle caress communicate love in powerful ways that words often can't. Intimacy is not just about sexual connection. It's about the daily acts of touch that say, I see you. I care about you. In long-term relationships, physical affection can fade into routine or be reserved only for certain moments. But consistent, mindful touch rekindles connection and reminds both partners of the warmth between them. Make a habit of reaching out, holding hands, cuddling, and being physically present. It's one of the simplest yet most profound ways to reinforce emotional bonds. Another crucial aspect of maintaining emotional intimacy is processing conflict constructively. No relationship is free of disagreements, but the way you handle them determines whether intimacy grows or shrinks. When hurt feelings arise, don't bury them or explode. Approach them with the intention to understand and reconnect. Use I statements to express how you feel, instead of blaming your partner. For example, say, I felt hurt when I didn't feel included, instead of, you always leave me out. Listen to each other's perspectives, acknowledge the feelings involved, and find a path forward together. Repair after conflict is more important than the conflict itself. Saying, I'm sorry I hurt you, or thank you for sharing how you feel, creates emotional closure and brings the two of you back into harmony. Shared rituals are another powerful way to maintain intimacy over time. Whether it's a weekly date night, morning coffee together, or a nightly check-in before bed, these rituals create predictable moments of connection that anchor the relationship. They don't have to be grand or expensive. What matters is consistency and intention. When life feels chaotic, these touchpoints become a refuge, a reminder that your connection matters and that love is being actively nurtured. Building emotional intimacy also means being each other's cheerleader. Celebrate your partner's victories, encourage their dreams, and stand beside them in their challenges. When your partner feels emotionally supported not just in times of crisis but in the quiet pursuit of their growth, they begin to feel that your love is not conditional, but rooted in who they truly are. Ask them how you can support their aspirations. Offer encouragement when they're doubting themselves. Let your belief in them be a constant source of light in their journey. Finally, cultivating emotional intimacy in long-term love means choosing each other again and again. Love is not a one-time promise. It's a daily practice. It's the decision to remain emotionally open, to care even when you're tired, to listen even when you disagree, and to show up with presence and heart. Over time, this commitment deepens into something unshakable, a bond, forged not just by time but by trust, compassion, and 1,000 shared moments of emotional truth. Closing the circle. Love as a lifelong devotion. Love, at its deepest, is not a fleeting moment, a chance encounter, or the romantic fireworks we often see on screens. It is a commitment to showing up every single day with an open heart, even when it's hard. Real love is not just found. it is continuously created. It grows not only in grand gestures, but more importantly, in the quiet, consistent ways we choose each other. And in that choosing through storms and sunrises, we become more than just two people sharing space. We become connected souls. This book has taken you through many dimensions of love, self-awareness, attraction, emotional safety, trust, communication, and intimacy. But as we come to this final chapter, we are not closing the story. Rather, we are opening the door to an ongoing journey, one where real love is not a destination, but a path that deepens with every step. To keep love alive is to honor it as a living thing, one that breathes, grows, and needs attention. The couples that last are not those who never struggle, but those who choose to return to each other again and again when it would be easier to turn away. Real love asks us to be soft where we've been hardened, to listen where we once dismissed, to give without keeping score. It asks us to speak even when we're afraid of being misunderstood, and to listen even when we feel like defending ourselves. Love is not a battlefield to win, but a sacred space to nurture. If we enter it like warriors, always trying to protect, control, or correct, we will miss the point entirely. But if we enter it with humility, with the courage to be seen and to see, to accept and be accepted, then love becomes not just a bond but a transformation. In this space, you and your partner are not only lovers or companions, you are mirrors for one another's growth. You are co-authors of a story that is shaped by vulnerability, by forgiveness, by shared dreams, and even by shared disappointments. It's easy to romanticize the early days of love, the butterflies, the newness, the infatuation, but what comes after is what truly matters. Real love is found in the small moments, in making tea for your partner on a tired morning, in reaching across the bed during a silent night, in choosing to stay when the easier choice would be to leave. These acts, repeated over time, weave a fabric of love that is strong, resilient, and deeply comforting. When you build your relationship on trust and understanding, when you cultivate emotional safety and communicate with honesty, when you fight fairly and forgive generously, you are laying the foundation for love that lasts. And lasting love is not stale or boring, it is richer, more profound, and more nourishing than anything temporary ever could be. So how do you carry this forward into your life? Start by recommitting to yourself as someone worthy of love. Self-love is the root from which all healthy love grows. When you honor your own needs, boundaries, and desires, you show others how to love you better. You stop settling for half-hearted connections. You stop chasing approval. You begin to attract relationships that feel like truth, not like a performance. And from this place, you're able to give love more fully, because it flows from a place of wholeness. You stop loving out of fear, fear of abandonment, fear of loneliness, and start loving from freedom. The love that is given from freedom is the love that transforms everything it touches. For those already in relationships, whether new or decades old, let this be your reminder that love can always be renewed. Even if there's been distance, even if words have been left unsaid, even if past wounds still sting, there is always a way back. But it begins with willingness. Willingness to try again, to speak honestly, to listen deeply. Willingness to repair instead of blame, to hold hands instead of hold grudges, to rediscover the soul of the person you once chose and who is still choosing you. Relationships are not maintained by luck or fate. They are sustained by effort, presence, and the shared belief that what you're building together is worth every ounce of that effort. There will be days when you feel disconnected. That's normal. What matters most is how you respond in those moments. Do you retreat or do you reach out? Do you assume the worst or do you ask for clarity? Emotional intimacy, trust, communication, all of it must be practiced even when it's inconvenient. Especially when it's inconvenient, because those are the moments that shape the strength of your bond. Love doesn't ask us to be perfect. It asks us to be real. And in that realness, raw, unfiltered, and sometimes messy, we find the deepest connection of all. The world often teaches us to protect ourselves, to armor up, to not let anyone get too close. but the soul knows better. The soul longs to be seen, to be understood, to be loved not for our masks, but for our essence. Real love is the invitation to remove that armor. It says, you can put down your sword here. You don't have to pretend. You are safe. You are enough. You are home. And when two people create this space for each other, they transcend the ordinary. They become sacred partners in life, in healing, in joy, and in becoming. Love is also cyclical. It goes through seasons. There will be winters of distance, autumns of letting go, springs of renewal, and summers of passion. Embrace each season for what it offers. Don't panic when the passion ebbs the soil. Don't take the closeness for granted water the roots. Don't wait until the relationship is falling apart to start working on it. Love needs maintenance, not because it is weak, but because it is alive. The most vibrant relationships are not perfect ones. They are the ones where both people commit to growing side by side, adjusting, learning, and leaning into the discomfort when needed. You may also find that in loving others deeply, you begin to understand yourself more. Relationships are mirrors. They reflect our fears, our patterns, our triggers, but also our capacity to love, to grow, to be better. The most intimate relationships hold up a mirror to our inner world, showing us where we still need healing, where we are strong, and where we are called to soften. This is not always comfortable, but it is sacred, because real love does not just give us comfort, it gives us transformation, and that transformation is the essence of a life well lived. So take everything you've read in this book and hold it close, not as a list of rules, but as a compass. Let it guide you back to what matters most. Let it remind you that love real, connected, soul-deep love is possible. And not only is it possible, it is within reach, right now, in this moment. Whether you're building a new relationship, healing an old one, or simply nurturing the connection you already have, know this: you have what it takes. You have the courage, the wisdom, and the heart to love deeply and to be deeply loved. Choose love. Choose it in the way you listen, in the way you speak, in the way you forgive. Choose it in the way you show up, especially when it's hard. Choose it in the way you look at your partner, not with assumptions, but with curiosity. Choose it in the way you hold space for both the joy and the pain. Because in the end, it is love that gives our lives meaning. It is love that brings us home. Connected souls are not found by accident. They are built-on conversation, one moment, one choice at a time. May your love be the kind that grows deeper with every day, that brings out the highest in you, that wraps you in warmth, and reminds you, you are never alone. You are deeply connected. You are wholly, truly, beautifully loved.